Hey guys, thanks for joining Broken World today. We're breaking down Westworld Season 3, Episode 2, and it's a very heady show, so let's break it all down. This is Broken World. All right, so this is Dylan, by the way. Sorry, running a little bit late. Just appreciate you guys sitting in and just kind of enduring this while we get caught up. We will be back for episode 3 on Monday, and then at 10 p.m. Central Standard Time, and then we will be back on track. And for every Monday, we will be on schedule. And also, I'll have my my co-hosts with me. Also, how do you like my new frame I got going on? So it's different than yesterday. Anyway, so yesterday I did episode 1. Tonight I'm doing episode 2, and tomorrow night we're doing The Walking Dead. And then Monday night, because we need a whole day to process an episode, we're doing episode 3 of Westworld. So let me do my little intro. All right, so thanks for joining us, whether you're new to the show or returning. Glad to have you along, and hope you'll join us live on YouTube and Facebook, just like this, every Monday, 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. And please like, subscribe, hit the little bell icon so you know when we drop a new video. And check out the website at www.broken.pictures.com. And you can also support the show on Patreon or buying merch at the store, which is the website /store. So, all right. So, yeah, special notes. We're doing this soft launch for Season 3. Just a lot been going on. And it's been 2 years since Season 2. You can go back and watch our Season 2 videos. But, yeah, things have been nuts. And so we're already doing the back half of The Walking Dead, our Broken Dead show that we do on Sunday nights. So this will be on Monday nights starting this Monday. Excuse me. And so you can catch us here on Facebook and on YouTube, and those videos will live on those after that. You can find them anytime. So don't forget, episode 3 on Monday, 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. And stay healthy out there. Things are kind of crazy with this COVID-19 going on. So keep your hands washed and all that good stuff, and quarantine. We will have just the 3 of us, so we're keeping our meeting to under 10 people tomorrow night and Monday night. So obey your laws, the laws of where you live. We're in Arkansas right now, so that's what we're requested to do by our governor. So yeah, everybody stay healthy, be careful, and keep your butt at home. All right, so let's get in. Spoiler alert, in case you don't know, we're going to get spoilery. We're going to talk about the episode. If you have not started Season 3 yet, go back and watch it. It's really good, and they've kind of diverted a little bit from the multiple timelines and all that confusing stuff, and everything seems pretty straightforward at this point. So just tune back in, give it another shot. But if you have not seen Episode 2, go back and watch episode 1 and 2, and then come back and watch me. So, also just want to say that Westworld is rated for mature audiences. So anything you have seen and heard on the show Westworld will probably be repeated on this show. You've been warned. So, all right. Westworld news in general. Everybody knows that is into this show, the several different websites and mini trailers they've got going on all over the internet. And you can go to the Insight website. You can go to now. Hey, what's up, Quin? Joining me live. Have you caught up, Quin? If you haven't caught up, you don't need to be watching. I want to spoil you. But so yeah, you can go to those websites, and you can also go to each park has discover Westworld.com. You got discover ShogunWorld.com, discover WarWorld.com, and all these other places. So, yeah, you can check that out. Pretty cool. Side note. All right. So episode 2 of season 3 is titled The Winter Line, and the description is just as coy as the show plays it. It's not very straightforward at all. It says, people put up a lot of walls, bring a sledgehammer to your life. And so it kind of reads like a meme. So rate this episode. This one got a little bit more, I think this one, it diverted from the main storyline that was going on with Caleb and Dolores in episode 1, but I really like Maeve's storyline and how it's going to play into all this, and they're exploring. Got to meet Sirach for the first time, so that was good. So I'm going to say, hey, Shayla. And I don't think she was calling me Tiger. I think she's saying Quin is Tiger. Oh my gosh. All right. So, yeah, I'm going to say, yesterday I said 7 or 8. I'm going to say a 7-8 for this one too. It was pretty good. Got to catch up with Bernard too. I really like Bernard. So let's go ahead and get into it. First, let's follow the characters through the episode, and then we'll jump up to, first we'll follow Maeve and her storyline, and then we'll jump over to Bernard and his storyline. So first up, Maeve wakes up and she is in War World. We got that teaser after last episode, kind of like a little after credits scene, which is pretty cool because so now we're in I want to say not Nazi Italy, but Nazi occupied Italy during World War II. And they're looking for papers. Well, actually, not papers, but y'all quit flirting on my chat. That's hilarious. Just kidding. Y'all flirted up. Quin and Shay. Quin is one of my co-hosts. Shay is his fiance, and they're flirting in the chat. It's cute as hell. Yeah, so we're in Nazi occupied Italy, and they are looking for some partisans. Some partisan has some stolen plans. The rebels, and it sounds very familiar with Star Wars, but they're looking for these stolen plans. And so Maeve is beating the mess out of somebody, and he's hollering, and she hears somebody coming, and lo and behold, it's Hector, or not Hector, it's Ettore. he's somebody else in this one. Of course he is, because it's Westworld. So comes in, and she thinks that he recognizes her at first, but the way he kept saying my love and all this kind of stuff, and gave her the little cyanide pill, and I was like, oh, he's deep in the narrative. He's so deep in the narrative right now. They sneak past the town square where they got everybody looking for these stolen plans. And he takes her out to this car, and they escape gunfire. Very exciting spy thriller type thing. It's pretty cool. That would be a cool park. What do you guys think? I would like to do that park. That would be very cool. Raj World, that would be fun, but for different reasons, I guess. Yeah, so they go out and they're on their way, and they get to the plane that he has set up for them, and she realizes, well, they get there and they find out that the pilots have been killed, and she realizes that he is in the narrative, like, for sure. And it's kind of like a Mexican standoff where they're about to all shoot each other, and they shoot each other. Maeve comes out unscathed, and she just kills herself because she realizes she's stuck in the narrative again. She's in hell again. And she wakes up and she is back in the mesa, and she sees Felix, and he's repairing her. And sure enough, he does not even recognize her. She reaches up and grabs him, and they think that she's just kind of stuck or something is malfunctioning or whatever. And then after they leave, Quin says he's on it. If you're caught up, then why are you not here? I'm just teasing. So she grabs some clothes and goes out and gets through. Just they don't even notice her. She goes through and she gets to the basement or wherever, and there's Sylvester, and sure enough, he doesn't recognize her either, and she knows something is up. So she's like, okay, this whole thing is something is not right. And so she's going to lobotomize herself, just like Clementine was lobotomized in season 2. And so she goes back, she's ready to do it. And then guess who walks in? Freaking Lee Sizemore, who was killed in season 2. So that he stood up for Maeve and let her get away, because it was the right thing to do. Finally had a noble end to a pretty selfish guy. So so he reveals to her that he put her in Warworld because it's close to the Forge, and he wants to get her back to her daughter, which is why he sacrificed himself in the first place, so she could get to her daughter. And so she buys it, goes back under, wakes up, and then her and Hector, don't reach the airplane. They stop in the woods, and sure enough, Hector is deep in the narrative and won't leave the narrative, and so she has to leave him behind. And then meets Sizemore up in the hills, and they ride the horses off to the Forge. Get to the Forge, and things get weird. So Sizemore thinks that she's the one that shot the cannon and opened the door and all this kind of stuff, and she's like, no, I never even got there. I died out at the front of the door trying to help people get in. And so then he just starts like quizzing her, just odd questions. And then next thing you know, he's professing his love for her out of the blue. And she's like, what? No, Lee Sizemore's not, he's not that type of person. He's not into me. He's into Lee Sizemore. So, she figures out pretty quick that they're in a simulation. And then we get, just like in season 2, the black bars come down and we're in a different panoramic 16 by 9, I think. I can't think of the word right now. So anyway, the bars come down, and aspect ratio, that's the thing I'm thinking. So we're in a different aspect ratio, and that's what they used as a plot element last year to show that they're in a simulation. So automatically we know this is the language of the show. So that's what's happening. And so he starts glitching out, and it's obvious. And then we see things start to kind of fizzle around, and we find out that this entire thing is a simulation that is it's a lot like the Forge itself, where it's just a complete, it's a giant simulation. And so Maeve turns into Neo again, and somehow is able to beat the simulation and rise above it and outsmart it, even though she is, I'm a little confused by it slightly, because I mean, I know that her pearl is its own entity apart from the simulation, but it is operating within the simulation. So she is somehow not held back by it. I don't quite understand, but she's not held back by it. And so let me see where I am in my notes. Oh yeah, so they go back to Sizemore's office, and she is figuring it out, and she gets on the tablet and she's figuring things out and going in and figuring out that humanity's what did she say? That humanity's failure is only outmatched by their laziness or something like that, or flaws. only outmatched by their laziness. So they've got redundant codes in there, and she's able to figure out and hack it. Are you guys having issues with jittering and skipping and drop frames and stuff? Let me know. Or if it's freezing up on you, just let me know. I swear this is not a simulation. That's just the lag of the internet. So in a pretty clever way, she basically brings NPCs into the room and asks them a question. This is basically kind of like, can God make a rock that is too big for him to carry or pick up? And it's a math question, of course. What's the square root of -1, which is not a thing. It's like man, I cannot find my words today. I can't find the word. Anyway, I'll figure it out later. So in the midst of all this, and the computer is working really hard to try to figure out this equation that there is no answer to, and so it freezes up, and she tosses the bust of the statue, and it freezes in midair and stops, and then immediately Sizemore's convinced, and so then. So then she decides to kind of disrupt the narrative even further and give it more to do. So she goes back in, but now she's planted all these plans, stolen plans on everyone, and she goes and overloads the system and brings meets Sizemore in there with the tablet and freezes up the simulation, but somehow her and Sizemore can still move freely within it. That's kind of what I mean by I'm a little bit confused, because I mean, shouldn't their simulations be frozen as well? I mean, you're limited by the simulation that you're in. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they're different hardware or something, or different processing. I don't know how that works. Anyways, she hacks in to where she can see the outside. She's using the cameras on the outside. It's just like Neo seeing out into Zion from the real world, and it's crazy that we can even understand this without going into a lot of detail and explanation, just because we get it now. But she hacks a robot to go in and steal her pearl and make an escape for it, make a run for it, try to escape. And then once again, she fails. And I want to say this is like the third or fourth escape attempt that Maeve has made and not actually made it. I mean, only the last one was as dramatic as this one, where she actually died. The other ones she just refused to go through with. And so then she wakes up in Sirach's house, and so both of them are wearing white, and we know just from watching the show that they use, just like the Man in Black, to kind of show what they're wearing, to show who's a good guy and who's a bad guy. And even in episode 1, a lot of the time Dolores wore black, and so this could be a red herring, because a lot of biblical references and all that in these stories, he could be appearing as an angel of light to make her think that he's a good guy, when actually he is the big bad. We don't know yet. From what it seems like right now, is Dolores is gonna end up just from watching like the opening credits and how the themes of this season seem to be going. And a big theme is mercy. And it seems like Dolores is going to kind of reach what she always wanted and be right there on the cusp of achieving what she wanted, or actually achieves it, but it is not what she thought it was. and so she ends up being the one that saves humanity rather than destroys it. But if that's the case, then where does that leave Serac? Because this is, I don't know if you've ever seen Matrix Part 3. It's very reminiscent of that type of situation where Serac is kind of like, he's basically the architect of Rehoboam. Rehoboam is how you say it, I think. and Rehoboam, I'm gonna keep messing that name up. Rehoboam is is basically the Matrix itself, and it has a path for everyone, and it's figured out all these things to make them happy and put them on the right path. But it's obviously not working for everybody, because you've got people like Caleb who are falling through the cracks, and only the top tier, I guess maybe the people who can afford it, actually get happiness because of this system. So he seems to be a good guy, but he could just be an angel, appearing as an angel of light. That's my theory anyway. So he asks Maeve to kill Dolores because she is a disruption in the system and that she cannot be controlled, and she can't be mapped out or something. She's something that they can't foresee. And what they do foresee is that the human race is going to lose the war, and he needs Dolores to be taken out so that humankind can survive. But of course, Maeve has no interest in this. She doesn't care about them. She's just trying to get free herself and try to get to her daughter. And so he basically just kind of entices her, and she doesn't buy it. Kind of moves around him and, goes for the knife, but he freezes her with a remote control. And this is the first time in a long time anybody's been able to control Maeve. But you can kind of see it on Thandie Newton's face that Maeve is terrified, that she is under control, and this is her biggest fear, is being locked back into that. And we saw that earlier when she thought she was back in the system, that she was going to just go ahead and end it all herself. And in fact, she did when she was in Warworld. So, after all that, he freezes her, and rather than verbally lashing her or anything, you see my dog's tail walking around. That's Ghost, by the way. So rather than lashing out at her or anything like that, or punishing her for trying to kill him, he just very mercifully tells her that they're on the same side, and that he will just have to convince her. So, and that's pretty much the end of Maeve's storyline in this episode. So if you guys have anything else on that, hit us up in the comments. Let us know what you think. If you saw any more Easter eggs, let us know there. And so let's jump over to Bernard. There's a lot of Easter eggs. Also, I forgot to mention the Serac. He's definitely not who he claims to be, because Liam, the guy that Dolores was manipulating last episode, his dad used to run the company. Serac, that was Serac's partner. Serac killed him, apparently, according to Liam, so that he would have control completely. And that's why Liam is just a figurehead and he doesn't really have any control. So, I mean, Serac's obviously not everything he claims to be, or everything they are setting him up to be in our eyes. All right, so let's jump over to Bernard's storyline. We jump right in, right where we left off, and he is on the boat headed towards Westworld, and he gets there, and the guy is like, I remember when these waters ran red with blood. So the massacre apparently is what he's talking about. And they're able to get in, even though they're these big, I don't know, it almost looks like an electric barricade, like fence or something, to keep people from just, getting right up to it. But for whatever reason, he was able to just get right in. And once he gets there, he first he goes to Ford's hidden cottage in the woods, where he was forced to kill Teresa. Ford made him do that, and that was very traumatic for him to go through all this stuff and find out that he was not in control of himself and did all these horrible things. And that'll come into play later. So he actually, before he gets to the cottage, he's kind of wandering through the town where Dolores as Wyatt killed Bernard, or not Bernard, but Arnold, and all of it, the whole town is kind of burnt and kind of destroyed. And actually, I mean, it works for the narrative, but that is actually because of the California wildfires. The whole set was destroyed. So that's very kind of cool how they kind of used it anyway, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, so he gets to the cottage, and there he finds Stubbs barely alive. And at the end of season 2, when last time we saw Stubbs, he kind of alluded to the fact that he might be a host. And it was kind of like a cliffhanger with that. And so we find out for sure, yeah, he's a host, and he's tried to take out his C6 vertebrae to make his, if they leave the park, their head explodes, basically. So he's down there, and he's trying to shoot it out and make it explode and destroy all the other Bernard hosts and himself and all the evidence and protect Bernard one last time. But he missed. And and so Bernard takes the spare parts he's got and kind of fixes him up and does the best he can with what he's got, and finds out that his programming is to protect Bernard and give Bernard and the hosts a shot to get out of the park, and that Ford planned it this way. And the entire time that the hosts have been getting away with all this stuff, and why they were able to go unnoticed and fly under the radar is because the head of security was a host that was covering for them. So that makes a lot of sense. So, all right. So they decide that Bernard tells him, he came to find somebody that can help him. He really doesn't know how or what to do with Dolores, but he needs somebody that can fight her, can defeat her. And obviously Stubbs knows, oh yeah, you're talking about Maeve. So he takes him down to the old warehouse, and we see the old logos on the door, just like last time when they went down and were looking for Peter Abernathy. And they go down there, and everybody's stark naked, of course. And they get down there, and they find Maeve, but turns out the back of her head is blown out, and her pearl is missing. So, and of course, we know where it is. It's with Sirach. Sirach has it. So they decide they're going to go try something else. And so they go upstairs so that he can kind of, get into the mainframe computer. And there's a huge Easter egg right there, a dragon-sized Easter egg. We see Drogon. They walk right through another reveal. Another park is Medieval World, which is one of the parks from the original movie. So that's pretty cool. That nice little call out there. And I wonder if we're going to see more of that later or not. I don't know, but it was they kind of explained that it in the when they were talking about the episode after that was kind of like a call out to everybody. There was a fan theory going on that Game of Thrones, wouldn't it be cool if Game of Thrones was actually just another park in Westworld? So that was pretty cool of them to include that. But not only that, we see the creators, the showrunners from Game of Thrones, D&D, Dan and David, playing characters called Dan and David, and they're actually in there with the dragon, talking about how they're about to get laid off, and they're gonna chop the dragon up for parts and send it to a little startup off the coast of Costa Rica. And that's another huge Easter egg for Jurassic Park, which was also created by Michael Crichton. And if you didn't know, Westworld, the original movie, was created by Michael Crichton. It was his first movie that he had ever written. And I want to say it's the only movie he ever directed. So, writer of Jurassic Park. So, if you don't, yeah, if you remember in Jurassic Park, the startup, all that came from off the coast of Costa Rica. But it's also kind of funny that they got laid off from Star Wars, and they're talking about getting laid off. So that's kind of poking fun at themselves. So that was probably kind of cool of them. And so, all right, all right. So they get into the office, and Bernard kind of has, oh, hey, you know what? I should do a diagnostic, hack into the mainframe and do a diagnostic because, I mean, if Dolores created me or brought me back, then like last episode, he was doing these diagnostics to try to see if he had been corrupted or if there's anything that he didn't know about that was going on that Dolores had kind of put in him. And and so he kind of figured, he was like, okay, well, if Dolores did do that, then